Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to teach your dog to settle. And what it really means is that your dog learns to just be bored for a while and maybe sleep or just watch the world go by. It's a really useful skill for dogs to learn because obviously as humans we do lots of things that are pretty boring, like we might be working on a laptop or watching the telly, or we might be in a pub or a cafe, and so dogs just sometimes need to just lie there and either go to sleep or just chill out. So I'm going to show you one of the ways you can do it. Is the way that I normally ask owners to do it in classes as well. I've got Moss behind me, you'll see him in a minute. What I normally use is something visual like a bed or a blanket, so that the dog can recognise that in a certain situation. And how we start it is just by building a good association with that particular blanket or bed. So if your dog's never done this before, how I would start it would be by feeding them on the bed or on the blanket, and you want to feed them quite frequently. That means every 3 or 4 seconds you put down a little bit of food. Could be some of their own food or a nice treat, but what's important is that you put it onto their bed as opposed to giving it to them, so that they start to build up an association with that particular bed or blanket, and hopefully nice stuff happening once they're on it. Moss obviously has done this a few times before, so this is his place to settle in the kitchen really when we're cooking or when we're having a meal, or quite frequently I'll be working on the laptop, so this is his place to go really. So if you're starting this from scratch, you want to feed quite regularly, so that your dog, to start with, stops going anywhere else but starts to stay on that bed or blanket. You don't ask them for anything, so it's not you're not going to ask them to sit or lie down. Quite often what you see is as they start to realise that the food just keeps coming, they decide to just hang out there for a bit, and quite often they start to sit or lie down off their own accord. So the first thing you do after that is you make the food a little bit less frequent. So you might go to every 6 or 7 seconds. And what's also important is that I try not to make this look like I'm training him, because obviously if I was working on the laptop or if I was sitting in a pub, it wouldn't look like a training session. I would be, working or talking or doing other things. So that's quite important as well, that we try and get that in there from the beginning, that this doesn't actually look like training. So every so often I put a piece down and I might sort of, as I said, do a bit of work on my laptop, but making sure that I can keep my eye on Moss and see what he's doing. And every so often I don't say anything, I just keep it really casual, because quite often if you get really excited and you start telling him what a good boy he is, you actually achieve the opposite. The dog also gets excited and starts getting up and standing up. And as I said, this skill is about learning to be bored. And you can see that he's looking at me a little bit because he's anticipating some food. So every so often I'm going to chuck a piece of food on there. If your dog starts to get fidgety and starts to look like they're going to move off, your best bet actually is to start feeding a little bit more often again. And you want to practice this in short bursts. And if you always use the same bed or blanket in a certain room of the house, you'll start to see that if your dog could be lying down anywhere, they tend to start to go there instead of anywhere else. So it's a really good exercise to show your dog how you would like them to behave in a certain situation, as I said, whilst you're cooking or whilst you're working, or where you just sat around with some friends. And the good thing is that quite often they can, with a bit of help, they can generalise it to other situations as well. So what we often do is we might take that particular blanket with us if we go to a pub or a cafe. We put it down on the floor, and because he's got the association of sort of lying and chilling out on that blanket, they pick it up a lot quicker. So what I might also look for is signs that he's actually relaxing, so he's putting his head down or he's flopping to one side. And I might feed for that as well, so that I'm actually also rewarding certain behaviours that go with the dog being relaxed and chilled out, as opposed to sitting and waiting in anticipation of what's going to happen next. So gradually you feed less and less frequent. If you want your dog to be on there for a little while, you can also actually give them something that lasts a bit longer, like a filled Kong or a chew, so they start to just relax and chill out so you can get on with some work, whatever else needs doing. So that's how to start off a settle. Practice it little and often, and you'll see that very, very quickly the dog starts to get the message. Happy training!